morning.
Okay,
So gonna be,
so Sadie can listen, ask questions, just can't vote, correct?
that's correct. And
Okay.
so
Okay,
it's gonna be,
We're all set.
very good. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the December meeting of the North Fork Conservation Commission. My name is Greg Young. I'm the chair of the commission. And this open meeting of the North Fork Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Healy's executive order of March 29th, 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the North Fork Conservation Commission are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the North Fork Conservation Commission to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Justin Dufresne.
Here.
Todd Hellwig.
Here.
John Johnston.
Here.
Sadie Stone.
Here.
Okay. Very good. Staff, when I call your
Kelly,
names.
Greg.
I'm here. I'm here too. Kelly Marston.
Oh, I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Yes, I am video off for a little bit.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Kelly. Staff, when I call your name, please respond to the affirmative. Vincent Vignali.
Here.
Owen Jones.
Here.
Thank you, folks. For presenters and or applicants listed on the agenda, the chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold till a name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps them generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the commission will be conducted by a roll call vote. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. By phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Please note that part of your phone number will be visible to those viewing the meeting. By Zoom, click Raise Hand on the bottom of your screen and wait to be recognized. The chair will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, I will call each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. A reminder that this meeting is being recorded and will be available for viewing by the Northborough Remote Meetings tab on the town's website. Justin, do you mind reading?
No problem. All right. The meeting will include the following hearings pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Northborough Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and or the Northborough Stormwater Management and Land Disturbance Bylaw. A Notice of Intent and Stormwater Management and Land Disturbance Permit application, 150 plus or minus southwest cutoff, map 122, parcel 4, owned by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, DCR flood control to remove and remediate contaminated soil under the Mass Contingency Plan. Work is proposed within bordering vegetated wetland, bordering land subject to flooding, 25-foot no disturbance setback, and 100-foot buffer zone. The work will alter more than 1 acre of land. Also, a request for determination of applicability, 9 and 13 Church Street, map 63, parcels 61, 63, and 64, owned by Millie Milton, LAK Northborough Realty, LLC, to demolish the existing structures in preparation for future development. The work is proposed within the riverfront area and 100-foot buffer zone. and also a notice of intent application 27 Belmont Street, Route 9, map 109, parcels 19, 20, and 23, owned by Shri Jagdamba LLC, to replace the failed septic system for the hotel. The work is proposed within the riverfront area and the 100-foot wetland buffer zone.
Great. Thanks, Justin.
Yep.
Before we get into the agenda itself here, we a couple of new members have joined us. John and Sadie, just like to welcome you and also ask you to you can take a couple minutes, just tell the commission a little bit about yourself. John, you want to start?
Sure. Name is John Johnson. Avid fisherman and hunter and sailor. Mostly background in technology. Out of Northeastern. Worked with the Digital Equipment Corporation in Shrewsbury for 15 years. Working with true robots and automation in a Class 100 clean room. Then moved on to EMC, where we did disaster recovery with tape, if you can, for us old timers, and then moved on to Dell Technologies, where I am today. So there was 21 years with EMC, and then as an engineer, and then 5 years as a senior manager, taking care of roughly 16 to 20 people. I'm married, live here in Northborough on Whitney Street. My wife is a member of the Board of Health. Two young grown daughters, if you will. My older daughter is out of UMass, works at the ED in mental health, and my younger daughter is in Santa Barbara. She designs women's slippers for UGG, so she has a great career there.
Cool. Well, thanks, John. Sadie?
Hi guys, I'm Sadie. I was born and raised here. I grew up in Northborough. Lived in New Hampshire and Vermont for a while and moved back to Northborough last year. I'm currently a 7th grade science teacher at Melican. And I've had a lot of different careers in the past. So teaching's relatively new. This is my 5th year teaching. Before that, I was working in a lot of environmental fields, doing research and ecology and different things like that in California, all over the place. I was trained as a wildland firefighter and did that for a while up in Maine and New Hampshire with the Nature Conservancy. And before all that, I was a graphic designer and in the art field. So I kind of bounced around until I landed in teaching right during COVID, and have stuck with it. So I'm excited to be part of the Conservation Commission. I've been a member of the commission in Keene, New Hampshire and Brattleboro, Vermont in the past, and felt like I hadn't lived anywhere long enough to join another one until now. So I'm happy to be here and looking forward to working with all of you guys. So
Great, super, welcome. Okay, meeting minutes are not prepped, so we're gonna move those out to January, Vinny, right?
That is correct.
Okay. There's really nothing to vote on because there's nothing there, so we just move them. And now we're going to go ahead and rescind the decisions from last month. We issued an order for stormwater management and land disturbance for Southwest Cutoff. We had an issue with the abutter notifications, so we're going to rescind that decision tonight and then re-deal with it. Vinny, do you want to do a summary of that, or does that pretty much cover it?
Yeah, that pretty much covers it. The notice that was sent out to the abutters said that the meeting was in person at the town hall, and it wasn't. So we have to meet the open meeting law and redo it, rehold a hearing, and see if there are any concerns raised by the abutters.
Okay, good. Before we take the vote to rescind, John, you did see the meeting? You were at the meeting last month, right? You attended you dialed in.
I dialed in, yes.
Okay, so you're familiar, so you can vote. Okay. Okay, so Vinny, we need a motion to rescind the approval for 150 Southwest Cutoff, correct?
That is correct.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion. Go ahead, Todd.
I will make that motion.
Second,
Second by Kelly. Roll call vote. Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes,
Kelly Marston,
yes.
and I vote yes. Okay. Order is rescinded, and they were on the agenda for tonight.
So we rescinded both the order of conditions and the land disturbance permit.
Correct. Yes.
does that mean that meeting has to be in person at the town hall, or can it be a remote session like this one?
No, it can be remote, and they're going to be on the call here later on today. But
Okay.
there was some confusion what went out to the abutters, and it indicated that it was a in-person meeting.
Okay,
Okay, Vinny, first one on the agenda here is 329 Crawford Street. The note I have from last month is that we're looking for a new plan on that one.
Yeah, I had documentation submitted to me late last week, and I don't know if Vito is there and if he wants to speak, or whether we just continue this.
Vito's here. He's got his hand up.
Yeah, that's
So
good. Yep.
I'm going to bring him in. Any moment now.
There we go.
Welcome, Vito.
All right. I'm Vito Colonna, Cornerstone Engineering. I just want to go over briefly of what changes we did make, and see if there's any comments from the commission, see if there's anything we can take away. Let me just share the screen. So essentially from the last meeting, to address Vinny's comments, we've expanded up. Essentially, one of the biggest things we did was expand out a lot of these basins as they roll down the hill,
Mhm.
so we can capture and infiltrate more runoff. So we have, less runoff in the post-development conditions, far less than the existing condition, and especially the lower storms, the 2, 10, 25-year storm. We added in these trench drains running across the driveway to help capture a lot of that runoff before it gets down to Crawford Street. And right now, these basins at the bottom, essentially the stormwater management system will contain all runoff that flows to them through the 25-year storm. We begin to get some overflow during that 100-year. We added in, just for reference, one of the comments the commission had was to add in the driveway design from the abutting lot right down in there. And then I think the only kind of question I had was basically we updated the waiver list, and one of the waivers we had asked for on that waiver list was about treatment for a portion of the driveway. This tail of the driveway right here, it does not flow to the drainage system. And it was noted in the review letter that treatment would be technically required. So we asked for a waiver from that standard for this particular portion of the driveway. It's about 700 square feet, and it's designed essentially to sheet flow off into the grassed areas and then ultimately through the wooded areas. We still control the peak rate and volume of runoff in those directions. It's just treatment for that section of driveway. And being a residential driveway, the treatment, there's not too many pollutants. Think of your own driveways at your own personal houses. There's not too many pollutants on your driveways, especially this being remote where it's going to flow through, grassed areas, then wooded areas before it actually reaches a down gradient property line. So that was one update to the waiver list. And then other than that, it's just essentially upgrading a lot of these basins in the stormwater system down near the bottom. And then a lot of documentation that was asked for in the letter. So those are really the updates. I didn't know if there was any additional comments the commission may have, or if there are any opinions on the waiver request for that section of driveway.
Vito, wasn't this one of the ones that had to have an agreement with DPW about runoff to Crawford Street?
So on this one, we need a driveway permit, and actually DPW does not actually have any driveway regulations that require anything with stormwater. But they did review and they did comment on the letter, on the plans, and as part of the driveway permit, and they recommended a 25-year capacity for those basins. But they actually don't have anything in writing, a regulation. They just offered that as an item on their review.
Okay.
Yep.
Vinny, how are you, Seb? Have you ever had a chance to review everything, or do you still have questions?
No, no, I have not done a second review. It looks like he's addressed all the comments, the idea of the pavement going off into the grass, then into the wooded area makes sense. That's similar to a low impact development filter strip. So we may be able to just evaluate that and say it is a filter strip. But it seems reasonable to do on a simple residential lot.
Okay. So do you feel we need to continue, or can we vote this, or what do you think?
Yeah, no, we need to continue because I haven't finalized it, but I don't see that there's any big issues that need interpretations. I don't think.
Okay.
Unless I'm missing something, Vito.
No, I think it's pretty straightforward now. It's just a matter of you double checking what we did, and if we have to come back with something else, there was a lot of items in there, so
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
yeah.
And what's your construction phase? You're just going to be using the
Yeah, so we were going to use this one essentially as the temporary basin. And the intent was just build the berm end of it during the initial phase, and use that natural area. And then once construction's over, they can dig out that bottom, remove any sediment, plus an extra 12 inches of soil, and then construct the bottom of the basin. That would allow us to contain essentially this whole upper pad within that basin. It has a lot of capacity in there. And then the basins along the bottom. Right now, what we were thinking was leave that more of natural during the initial phases, and then construct that once we get the driveway rough through and a little bit further into construction, rather than open it all up at once. Leave it more of a natural area to start, and then after come back and install those basins.
Good. That sounds right. And that's in your construction sequence then, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I haven't read it, so
Yep.
apologize for that.
Okay.
No, I know there's a lot there, so a lot to go through. I know that.
Yep.
Let's get any questions, comments from the commission on this. If not, we'll see if we have any public comments. I don't see any hands up. Okay. Okay, so Vito, sounds like we're gonna continue this to January, yeah?
Yep,
That's
that sounds
fine.
great.
We need a motion to continue stormwater management permit for 329 Crawford Street to January.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Kelly. Roll call vote. Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
yes.
and I vote yes.
All right. Well, thank you.
Have a good holiday, Vito. Thank you.
too. Well, I'll see you later
Good
on.
night.
I have one at the end too.
Okay. We'll see you then. All right. Moving along to the NOI and stormwater management and land disturbance permit for Southwest Cutoff. I believe we have Mr. Lowell's with us. Bring you in, Robert.
And Mark,
I got a Mark Manganiello, LEC.
yes. And Leslie Lombardi.
Okay.
Mark Manganello. Is there?
Yep. Mark's coming in. Leslie's coming in.
I
Why
think
don't you do
that's
it?
it.
There we go. Gang's all here.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Robert Lowell. I'm Deputy Chief, Design and Engineering at Department of Conservation and Recreation. And tonight we also have Leslie Lombardo, LSP with GEI, and Mark Manganello, our wetland scientist, who can do most of the presentation. We were here before you last month, but just to revisit our project. This is a project off of bypass Route 20 It is a DCR property. It's a flood control property that's co-managed with the Natural Resource Conservation Service, federal agency. This was built to protect flooding in Northborough. I think primarily it protects Route 9. But when the property was purchased, it had a auto dump, auto parts recycler, if you will, back in the 60s. And so there were car parts from the 50s and 60s, a lot of surface dumped material, and also material that got into the wetlands. DCR has removed most of the surface waste, the auto body parts, should I say, and the tires and surface material, but there's a lot of soil that still needs to be addressed. So we'll go over the remediation plan and restoration plan. DCR does not have any further development plans for this property at all. It's going to remain as a flood control property, open for passive recreation. We've had a fence up there for a really long time. Probably take the fence down after this work is complete, but there is no plan for development, no plan for a formalized trail system. It's fairly an isolated wetland that doesn't lead to a trail connection, if you will. But we'll let the go through the presentation here, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi,
Leslie?
I'm Leslie Lombardo with GEI Consultants. We're the environmental consultant and remediation design engineer for the project on behalf of DCR. Just wanted to give a brief overview of the regulatory history of the site contaminants, and then the plans for cleanup. And then I'll turn it over to Mark, and he'll talk more about the impacts to the wetland resource areas and plans for restoration. I do have a site plan I can share as I talk. I know Mark will share probably the same plan. Let's see. Do you see the site plan? Yeah.
I do.
Okay, great. So the approximately 9-acre project area was initially identified in 2000 as a Mass DEP listed disposal site under the Mass Contingency Plan, which is those are the regulations that specify the requirements for notification, assessment, and cleanup of contaminated properties. As Rob said, the site was used by a private property owner in the 50s as an auto salvage yard and for dumping. And so that resulted in contamination to soil and some isolated dumping areas. Those are really the areas in that fuchsia color, were sort of these discrete dumping areas that were identified. And that resulted in contamination, of course, to the soil in those dumping areas, and also to the sediments in some of the down gradient wetlands. The primary contaminants in soil and the wetland sediments are metals and petroleum hydrocarbons. Since 2000, under the MCP, DCR conducted several investigations to assess the nature and extent of contamination to support development of a cleanup plan that will be protective of human health and the environment. And as required by the MCP, an evaluation of several cleanup alternatives was done, and excavation and offsite disposal of contaminated soil from these source areas and contaminated sediment from the wetland areas was selected as the best, most effective alternative, because it will remove source area contamination and result in what's called a condition of no significant risk under the MCP to ecological and human receptors. So the plan is to excavate those fuchsia colored and aqua colored areas, backfill those areas with clean imported material, revegetate and restore to pre-existing conditions. As required under the MCP, the cleanup plan will also require that this portion of the property have a deed restriction placed on it to restrict future residential uses of that area. And it will require post-cleanup groundwater monitoring to evaluate the effectiveness of that removal of contaminated soil and sediments on groundwater quality. And at that, I will turn it over to Mark. Mark, do you want me to leave this up or do you want to share?
I'll share mine if I could.
Okay. Yep.
I'm Mark Manganello with LEC Environmental Consultants. I'm just going to get this screen going here. That work okay?
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay. So just backing up a little bit to orient the commission and any of the abutters who might be watching. This is Route 20 here. This is the flood control berm that you may be familiar with. Tomlin Hill Road, Davis Street to the north. The site is in this general area here. It's part of about 200 acres, as Rob indicated, a flood control area. It's this larger property that includes this flood control berm structure. Let's see. This is back to Leslie's graphic here, just to touch on wetland resource areas associated with this project. There's bordering vegetated wetlands, which were delineated in the field by LEC. That is this boundary that kind of extends around the perimeter of this area, like so, extends off site here and then back on site here and back over this way. So there's BVW.
Mark, could you blow it up just a little bit?
Sure. Let's see. How's that?
That's good. That's a little better. Yep.
Better? There are also several isolated vegetated wetlands you can see on here, these small green outline polygons. Really the landscape in this area, you can also see some of the topography contours in here. They're kind of light on this, but you'll see them on other graphics. The landscape in here has been heavily disturbed over the years as a result of the historic use of the property. So there really aren't any natural wetlands in here. These are all man-made features within the perimeter of this work area. This area is also in bordering land subject to flooding, and one of or two of the wetlands have been identified as containing potential vernal pools. The total amount of work involves 33,000 square feet of soil removal in bordering vegetated wetland, 66,000 square feet in BLSF, and 41,000 in buffer zone. The work areas are divided into 5 areas of contaminated soil and groundwater and removal of debris as required in the MCP. As Leslie alluded to, I'm going to pull up the site plan now. This is a similar graphic as the one we were just looking at. These are the same polygons that had color in the previous graphic. They are the areas of excavation, of contamination and proposed excavation. They're broken down as the wire dump area, the municipal dump area, electrical component, debris and bottle dump area, and north and south burn areas. Each one is labeled. The square footage of each one is included here, including the depth of excavation, the volume of soil to be removed, etc. The largest area in your jurisdiction is this wetland 3 here. This is about 28,000 square feet of wetland disturbance. Most of the excavation is down to a depth of 1 foot. There's a couple small pockets that are a little deeper than that. The plan is for excavated soils to be temporarily stockpiled on site before being transported off-site. A portion will be treated in situ for lead toxicity through a process that involves mixing contaminated soil with a binding agent to immobilize the lead in the soil. The soil is then tested and excavated for transport off-site. With the extensive amount of work in wetlands, measures to carefully manage water during construction were incorporated into the plan. There's extensive information in the plans regarding construction methods, including a plan to perform wetland excavation during the drier summer months to minimize disturbance from water. There's also going to be timber swamp mats for excavation in wetlands in Area 3, dewatering plans, and a water treatment system if necessary. As Leslie mentioned, restoration will involve backfilling the excavation areas with clean soil, specified based on whether or not it's in a wetland or in the uplands. The wetlands will have high organic content, essentially a hydric soil backfilled, and the uplands will be backfilled with a traditional loam. Plantings will then be installed in accordance with the planting plans. Construction will be monitored by a wetland scientist throughout, and then post-construction, there will be monitoring likely for 5 years by a wetland scientist with monitoring reports submitted to the Conservation Commission describing the health and vigor of the plantings. This project has undergone a complete MEPA review, including an ENF and EIR, and will also be subject to an authorization from the Army Corps under the general permits for Massachusetts and a water quality cert from DEP. So that's an overview. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
One question I have is the timeline for the activity from start to finish.
The construction duration from start to finish, the entire project?
Yes.
I don't know, Leslie can probably answer that better than I.
I think it'll be 4 to 6 months on that order.
Whereas for, I would say the excavation and treatment, but I would say the restoration may go into 2 seasons. Don't you think, Leslie?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so I would estimate a full two construction seasons approximately.
And you probably want to start sometime in the spring or before.
During times of low water. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we've got a preference on that. Maybe summer. Is that, Leslie, what we were thinking?
Yeah, no, I think we're shooting to go for during a dry summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioners, any questions or comments you have?
I just have one question. How long will the contaminated soil that's being contained be on site?
Well, it's required to go off site within 120 days, but our intent will be to stockpile and ship it off as soon as possible because we're not going to have a lot of room to deal with. So, anything that requires amendment to further dry it, we'll just have it stockpiled on site and amended as long as it needs to. But we're going to need to keep some trucks moving to get this material off site. The intent is not to leave stockpiles on site for extended periods of time.
Thank you.
Right, and I was just going to reiterate that it will be treated before it's stockpiled, so there will be.
Yeah.
We don't need to wait. It's really just the ability to get it onto the trucks and get it scheduled into the licensed disposal facility.
But you did say it would have to wait because you had to do lead testing, right?
Well, that's pretty quickly. I mean, it's the areas that require treatment for lead in situ before they're excavated. The subcontractor goes in, amends the material, and they're able to test it right away. So we'll have answers within days. And
Okay,
then
good.
once that's cleared, it can either be loaded out, direct loaded onto trucks, but if it's wet, we may need to stockpile it and amend it further to dry it. So it just depends on how wet the material is.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission, comments?
I think Mark mentioned that there'd be a wetland scientist on site. Will that LSP be on site during this also?
Yeah, an LSP representative will be on site absolutely full-time during construction.
And just wondering, I guess, with that, Leslie, if you guys were assuming kind of 1 foot of soil would be excavated out, if you find that there's depths or a vein that maybe goes down deeper, will you be chasing that down and potentially excavating more? Or
Yes. So the depth of excavation in each area was predetermined by sampling ahead of time. But at the same time, once we've removed that designated amount of material from each area, then we collect confirmatory samples to confirm that we've achieved the cleanup criteria that's been established. So if we do not achieve that cleanup criteria, then we'll take more material out if it's needed.
So just get as much out till it's clean, and then you're bringing in clean material after.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And DCR will have representation on site as well too for the full job.
Any more questions from the commission? Comments, concerns? I got one quick question here. I noticed I drove by there today. I noticed activity there with a bunch of folks in fluorescent vests from like Davy, D-A-V-Y maybe? Is that connected with this activity or is that something separate?
I don't
It's-
think that
No.
unless it's you, Leslie. I do know
No.
there is another project that is being prepared for actual raising the berm on throughout the property for climate resiliency. And there was some survey to be going on. It's away from this area that we'll be working on is the dam itself that's part of the property. And I think that there's some survey that might be going on related to that. That's
could have
my
been it, 'cause
best guess.
There was no equipment. It was just several guys with some,
Yeah.
standing around.
Yeah, if I
Yeah, they
jump
may be
in,
looking at wetlands as well too, at the same time.
Okay, good.
yeah, Greg, you said it was Davy tree, so there was an identification of a emerald ash borer in that area. And so I think they were out looking at trees, looking for the emerald ash borer and possibly the Asian longhorn beetle. But Davy
Okay.
tree has been around the water, around town, all the areas around central Mass for years, looking at the longhorn beetle. And there was a sighting of the oh no, I'm not the emerald ash borer, the spotted lanternfly
Yeah,
was
okay.
the bug of
I
concern
just wondered,
this time.
I just knowing this was on the agenda, I wasn't sure if it was related or not, so fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got hands up in the audience. Lisa Maselli. Lisa, I'm going to have you talk. Lisa, you there?
Making some sounds. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, how are you?
We're well.
I'm supposed to be your liaison. It's been a while since I've been here, so I'm interested in just the deed restriction that you talked about and keeping it. Is this going to be just used for recreation use and never again for residential, commercial, or industrial use?
Correct. Yeah, it was actually purchased for flood control purposes, so there was really never supposed to be any development on it. This was a pre-existing use when the state bought the property, the auto parts. But there is no plans for, future development. The restriction is for, new drinking water wells, and Leslie could be more specific about that. But it's really about future uses of the air that we're cleaning up, which will be suited for woodland. It'll be fine for passive recreation, but it's not suitable for redevelopment.
Right. The cleanup criteria that we are using does not meet residential criteria, but it's suitable for a passive recreational use. So the deed restriction will restrict residential uses of that portion of the property.
But just residential, it won't be both, it won't take commercial and industrial into account? Or when it was residential,
It would cover all categories, Lisa. There will be no development here for sure. It's not meant to be, loophole to allow industrial. There will be no development here. It's supposed to be undeveloped so that it provides storage for when it really rains. So that's as a place for the rain to go.
And how long ago was it not used for this purpose of looks like a car situation, auto repairs or something?
Yeah, it was more like a scrap yard because they had sorted wire, they had sorted glass, they had sorted materials. But Leslie, do you have a history date of that? Is it the
Yeah,
50s?
it was at something in the 60s, because I think it was in the 60s so it was from the 50s through maybe the early 60s, because I think DCR took the property in the 60s.
Thank you.
Okay. And could you give me a little bit, I looked at the maps, but is there something else closer to the site that I could recognize where it is off 20?
It's on the bypass 20, and it's just a little north of the mall entrance for the Wegmans complex.
Okay, okay. That's right, because you don't really notice anything there because you're driving
There's a
down.
gate, yeah, and then you'll
Yeah.
see a grassy, kind of a grassy area. We keep it mowed all the time, but that's really the only thing. That's the only activity there is the mowing.
And Lisa, there's a small pull off there too. You could a couple cars could pull off into. You notice that?
Okay, and so it's on the west side of Southwest Cutoff.
Yes, it is.
Yes, yes, on the way to Shrewsbury.
Yeah, because it looks like there's a green gate of some sort, and then kind of a
Yep.
big berm.
Yep, that's right.
That's a very attractive area when it's all green. All right, great. I'm glad I tuned in. There's a lot of interesting things going on. Getting this taken care of is lovely. Thank you.
Super. You all set with your question here?
I am. Thank you.
Okie doke. All right. No other hands up, I see. Okay. So Vinny, if we have no other issues, we can move ahead to close the hearing and take a vote here.
That's correct. We close the hearings and then move on. Yep.
I'll take one more look here since we had some butters. I don't see any hands up. Okay, need a motion to close the hearing on the NOI and stormwater management land disturbance permit for 150 Southwest Cutoff.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Justin. Roll call. Justin Dufresne,
yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Hearing is now closed. Now we need a motion to issue a notice of intent. Vinny, any special conditions on the run the NOI or the order?
Yeah, no, we just have our typical 25 or so conditions in our orders of conditions, and the permit has, I think, 17, but there are a lot of repeats. But I don't see that we have any other, I didn't make any notes that we had any other conditions that needed to be applied to this.
There's
They're
no
gonna be
erosion control, there's no erosion
reporting.
control devices here because we're in the wetlands here. We're working it, so.
Well, there will be erosion control device or sediment control
that's what's
devices
going up.
on the perimeter. So that one of the conditions is our typical one with it. They have to be inspected and approved
Prior, okay,
before
good.
any other work occurs,
Okay,
and they can't be removed until the upland area is stabilized and approved.
okay.
But that is one of our standard ones. So I think that's good. And there's also a requirement to report weekly and after every quarter-inch rainstorm, the site stability, make sure the work is protected or protecting the wetlands so that we're not getting runoff into the wetlands.
Well, it's a very visible location too, so we're gonna make sure that we're transparent with everything, so.
Yes.
Okay, good, then we need a motion to issue an order of conditions and a stormwater management land disturbance permit application for 150 plus Southwest Cutoff.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Kelly. Roll call vote. Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Very good, all set.
Thank you very
Rob,
much.
Rob,
Thank you,
is
folks.
there
Thanks
a
for working with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
question
Thanks,
for
Vinny. Yes.
Rob?
Yes, sir.
The,
Rob.
the number we used to 150, is that acceptable for you? Is there, just so we have a reference so that people know that it's not the north end of the Southwest Cutoff or the south end, it gives them an idea as to where
Oh, an
it is.
approximate street number?
Yeah,
We would rely on you folks to help us with that if there is no such number there.
okay. Well, 150 will work then.
Okay, we'll use that. Leslie, is that okay with you?
That works.
All
Yep.
right,
All right,
we'll
thank you.
officially noted. Thank you again.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
folks.
Thank you. Good
Good
evening.
Bye.
night. All right, moving along, we have a continuation on a stormwater management land disturbance permit application for 3, 7, and 11 Reservoir Street. Who do we have on for that?
Bob Parenti.
Bob Parenti's here. I'm gonna bring him in. Bringing you in, Bob.
All right, I think I just unmuted, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Let's see. Vin, are you able to bring those drawings back up, Vin, or do I need to try to
Yep,
grab
I
them?
can bring them up. I was just going to ask that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I did figure out how to do it, but
Well, we'll see how we do.
yep, thanks.
So just
So, Mr. Chairman,
while you're doing this, some of the recapping from last month, I think there were a lot of outstanding questions, if I remember, Vinny, right? That you needed work done.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So in the past couple weeks, I've cleaned up the drawings and I basically took the drainage information, the catch basins, the manholes, and I put them onto the profile sheet. So which helps clarify the grading plan a little bit. It was pretty confusing. And the grading, the manholes and the catch basins were coming out very light. So I transferred all that information to the to above the profile sheet to help with clarity for everybody with DPW reviewing it and Vin's review of it. So
Which sheet do you want, Bob?
Maybe the erosion control sheet, Vin, we start with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the profile.
It's the profile sheet, correct. Yep.
You want
So
to just
the
explain the
profile
profile sheet?
Sure. So on the left side of the profile around Station Zero, there is the edge of pavement for Reservoir Street. So in order to comply with the planning board elevations, we put a 5 I think they have a limit of 6% coming in off the road. So I got 5.99% on the profile coming in. And then we changed the grade with a little vertical curve to go to 9%, which is, I think, a little bit under their maximum grade, but it works pretty well with our profile with the existing center line grades. I think it works a little bit of cut in like the 150-foot range there, but then we go to a fill section at about Station 4, drain manhole number 2 is, I think, Phil. Yep. So we got a little bit of a 4 or 5 foot fill section in there. All the drainage pipes are shown a little bit clearer on this sheet. There's one catch basin. The last catch basin on the far right of the profile sheet is actually it's in the turnaround for the common driveway, so that we're collecting all the pavement runoff. So this drainage system is designed to catch the runoff from the driveway and anything from the lots that's not going into the recharge structures for the houses. We do have schematic or concept locations for our recharge for the Caltex in front of the houses. They're not 100% designed, but I think MAL bag, I think he has allowed for enough volume for the 25-year storm in those the house recharge systems. I think Vin had a question whether it would affect the septic systems. The soil perked pretty well up there. All the soil testing is done, so the recharge for each house will help reduce our volume that we need for our detention ponds. There's a small detention pond up front. I think we talked about up
This is
right near
Reservoir
Street
here.
there, Vin. Yep.
And the driveway
It's a
comes
small-
up, is proposed to come up here with a detention basin in this area here. And then there's
So
the
there's a
first
small
house
basin
development is
there,
up
yep.
in this area.
Correct.
House with a driveway. Septic system.
Yep. So we did show all the houses, the grading for the driveways for the houses. I kind of worked it out just to get an idea how much land we would disturb. I know Vin had a comment. I think I showed 2.5 acres originally, but that was more or less for the driveway and the 2 detention ponds. So I've estimated about 30,000 square feet of land disturbance for each house. So our total land disturbance is about 4.5 acres, according to my estimation. And then this is basically a 10-acre parcel that we're working with. I'm sorry. So we're trying to control all our drainage. We're trying to put it into a small pond down front and then a larger pond adjacent to the 200-foot line, the 200-foot riverfront line. So all of our work, we've made some great effort to keep it out of the other jurisdiction areas for the Conservation Commission, but this is what will work best for this property. So I did add the detail of the concrete wall that we want to build, and it's basically had the same amount of earth on either side, so it's not really unbalanced. It's pretty much a balanced wall. But by the time we grade out the bottom of the detention pond and the other side of the wall, it's very close to the same grades. I did add details. I don't know how much time you had to look at it then, but I did add the details of the outlet structures because they weren't LBAG. I thought had them in the report, but I did not see them. So there's two pretty much manhole structures with 4-inch pipes with holes in them. Now, the reason I think that they're 4-inch pipes, and LBAG did the design, but it's because there's 2-year storms that the flows are so low that that's just the way it's got to be. So if we did get a big storm, the water would just go into the top of these two structures. One in the middle of, pretty much in the middle of each pond, the infiltration basin and the detention pond out front. So those details, I think, work pretty well. We did keep the infiltration basin 2 feet above the estimated high water table. I had hand dug a couple holes in the detention pond area. I got down about 42 inches with a post hole digger about a year ago. And I think those holes, I just covered them up with some brush and stuff. So those holes are probably still visible if anybody wanted to see them. But I think LBAG has done a good job keeping the elevations to where everybody, I think, will be happy with the final product. Now, we do have a pipe that comes from our driveway to feed the detention pond. So from drain manhole, actually we have an STU, a stormwater treatment unit, just off the edge of the roadway where the cursor is right about now, STU 2, I think we're calling that one. So that STU will filter our low flows and keep the silt out in accordance with the stormwater regs, and then we will drain to a drain manhole 4, which just changes the direction a little bit, and we'll put another 15-inch pipe and let it discharge into the detention pond. So that length of pipe will be our construction access to the pond, because we're going to end up pouring concrete for the concrete wall. And that construction road will have to stay, I think, for further maintenance. I think that's just going to end up to stay a gravel road.
Does that road go on to Boundary Street? I'm sorry, Reservoir Street?
No, it's going to go up to to our common driveway.
Goes to the
so
driveway.
It's going to just on the north side of drain manhole 3. So maybe station 2+00. I think those grades work pretty well, and I think it's not a crazy slope. It's probably a 9 or 10% slope. So it's easily accessible. I think with those 4-inch pipes, those 4-inch, the low flow drains, I think maintenance will be maybe a little more required than some of these other larger ponds that just have a 12-inch pipe going out. I think the folks that live here are going to have to keep an eye on it.
Vinny, that brings up a point about folks keeping an eye on things. We don't have a great history with that. You probably want to have some sort of HOA involved here, right?
Yes. The planning board has already requested that,
Great.
and
Good.
I'm hoping to get a legal help with this thing to get that HOA paperwork before the planning board, in front of the planning board, let's say, for review. I did have a detention pond in my backyard in Marlboro, and I used to cut the grass in it with a rider mower. So this one, should not be grass. The big one should not be grass. It should be basically gravel bottom when it's done.
The concrete wall, 12 inches high?
Excuse me?
Oh, the height of
So
the concrete.
the concrete wall,
Yes.
basically just to create our storage. So if I tried to grade out a berm, I would be going into the 200-foot line. So I would prefer, I think this is 6-1. I think cost-wise, it's kind of a wash, only because it's basically just a house foundation wall when it's done. And it does, make us look better with the Conservation Commission as far as not cutting more trees adjacent in the 200-foot zone.
Bob, do you see any risk of water running onto Reservoir Street off that driveway?
So the catch basins, I did do a little catch basin analysis for DPW and for Vin. So we can collect all the water, and we did add a trench drain. So we have a CB catch basin number 3 down about 30 feet off the edge of pavement, and I also added a trench drain. That one shows it in front of it, but it's actually going to be 5 feet to the north of that, so that anything that might go by that catch basin will get caught in the trench drain.
Mm-hmm.
And then that D symbol on that plan is the other STU, that other treatment unit that we'll have to purchase and put in.
Okay. Vinny, comments? You still need to do some analysis, yes?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I got this, I think last week at some point, maybe Thursday or so, but yeah, I still have to look at it. There are some issues. What I was looking for was, again, during construction, the idea of how much needs to get protected, having temporary sediment storage so that before all these drain systems get put in, you're just gonna have a cut road going up the slope. And so we want to put controls in there so that you don't get dirty water coming out into the street. You're going to divert it out to the basin on the side.
So that proposed basin out by Reservoir Street, that is pretty much a natural low area, so we can direct water there during construction. I don't think it's going to take much to do that. It's already the topo is already kind of pushing it that way.
Right.
And
I just have to confirm it is all. I think that it can work. Just have to go through and make it work. You have to build a little berm on this side, but this isn't an infiltration basin in the future. It's just detention. So it's allowed to have for temporary sediment control. It's allowed to be used as a trap.
Okay. So we are going to continue this meeting, Vinny, right? So you can get a chance.
That is correct, yes.
Any questions from the commissioners? Any comments? I got one hand up here. Michael Horgan. Michael, you should be able to speak any moment here.
Hi, am I on?
You
now?
are. We can hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'm at 17 Reservoir Street. We directly abut this particular project. Just a couple of questions or comments. The first is, this is a pretty long driveway. I'm curious where the snow storage is, where that's going to be plowed up to and stockpiled when we have a snowy winter. Is that somewhere that you have pre-designated, and where will that run off to?
That's not specifically located on the plans, but that's a good question. I think at the end of the turnaround, it's going to have to be plowed to the end of the turnaround up at the top of the hill. In the intermediate spots, the existing driveways are going to have to be plowed. So most of the snow is probably going to have to be stored in each of the driveways. So it'll windrow off to the sides as you plow it, but as far as when you get up to the end of the turnaround, it's kind of like a cul-de-sac. So that's going to just have to be pushed further up. So it'll be the snow will drain onto this roadway, I think, as it melts, if that's your question.
It's a pretty long driveway, so I imagine there's gonna be, if we get a foot or two snowstorm, which, I'm sure we'll have again at some point, that can result in a fairly large stockpile of snow. The second question I have or comment, I just want to back up a little bit. So these three parcels are being subdivided from 363 Crawford Street. There's a bit of land there that you're subdividing into these three parcels, but I really feel like it's missing the mark on what's happening with 363 Crawford Street. We contacted the health agent for 363, which is that remaining parcel that has a home or a house. And the town has no idea where the subsurface disposal system is on that property at all. So that's something that's sort of a big unknown. The second thing is that I didn't do any real, detailed engineering analysis, but I did go to the town GIS website, and it really appeared that there is no property or no area that's outside of the 100-foot buffer zone where, if that house is ever remodeled and needs to get a new septic system, where is that going to go? Where is that going to be located or could be located? Because it seems to be all within 100 feet of the wetlands, at least with the little measuring tool that they have on that GIS site. So I don't know what the actual requirements are and what kind of septic system can be placed within 100 feet of a wetland or a waterway. But that's something that, we hear a lot about these three parcels, but I'm concerned with the people ignoring the 363, the original parcel, and what can be done and what's going to happen with that property. And I just asked the board to also consider that and these property lines and the potential of the work and not get too narrowly focused on just the common driveway and the stormwater retention basins.
That's a good question, Mr. Horgan, but the existing house, there's no one living there right now, so if they did want to upgrade the septic, they would have to do some new soil testing with the Board of Health. I don't know where the existing cesspool is, but if they do want to occupy or sell that house, they will need a new septic, and it'll have to be designed best maximum feasible compliance. So I think by the state code, the septic system can be within 50 feet of the wetlands, but there is floodplain over there. There's all sorts of things that are, need to be considered, but they're not part of this proposal. These lots have already been created. They were created a couple years ago by land planning. So this is not technically a subdivision. It's a special permit for with conservation for the land disturbance and the
I understand that. I think it was a mistake for the parcels to be delineated without that consideration to begin with, because that, potentially you're gonna have, they'll come back for waivers or who knows what will be required when and if something were to ever happen to that property or that home.
Well, Mr. Horgan,
you will be
notified.
Yeah,
If that piece of property were to be developed, it would be an entirely different filing.
correct.
And
Yes, and then all the neighbors all the
So
abutters would be re-invited.
Yeah, no,
But
I understand that, but again, it's like subdividing land without consideration of the original parcel and what might happen. I think it's something that would likely come back before the board and they'll say, hey, these property lines are already in place. We're stuck and you have to give us a waiver. So I think it's something that really was not properly addressed. I don't know when these property lines were originally delineated. We were not involved in that, and we never were notified of that. But I do think that that's something that has to be part of this consideration as an entire corner property with 363 Crawford Street, 3 Reservoir Street, 7-Eleven, whatever the numbers are going to be. But it should be you know, and just not to narrow our focus on just one thing, but there is a potential of an abandoned home or property or the town becoming liable, or, you know, it's just going to be a mess if you can't locate a septic system and do anything with that property.
Okay, your comments have been duly noted. Anything else, sir, before I go to the next caller?
No.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I have a Brittany Law. Brittany, you should be unmuted.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
You're very faint.
Okay, I'll try to talk louder.
That's better.
This is Brittany Law and Alex Goldman at 339 Crawford Street. I just want to echo some of the concerns that our neighbors have raised, specifically about the 363 Crawford Street original parcel. It sounds like we're focusing a lot of effort on developing a new site, but like kind of disregarding the fact that this structure is there and deteriorating, and could potentially cause a safety downstream. There's also a private dam on that piece of land. And so I'm wondering, when was that private dam, like, has it been inspected? Is it compliant? What is its condition? How does it affect this area? So that's just.
I can reply to that. Basically, the dam is off the property in question, so it has no effect on this. All the issues you're raising with 363 have no application to what's before the commission, because they're being requested to act on a common driveway application on the west side of the stream. Anything that occurs on lot 363 will require a whole new notice of intent, as well as a land disturbance permit. Part of that land disturbance bylaw that was written by the town of Northborough, there are stipulations in there that if you created a hardship on your property, then you have to live with the results. There's no there's no saying that they divided off the property and they don't have land to use, because they might have made a hardship on this. But that bylaw has language in there that prevents them from utilizing that as a reason to not comply with the rules. So they have to comply with all the rules for all 4 of the lots. They are now just asking for these 3 on the west side of the brook for action. They still have to do all the work for 363 when that time comes.
Okay, so do we know what the long-term plan is for 363?
It's the owner's
Mr.
property,
Chair,
and I'm not sure.
well, the property isn't in the state, so they're just trying to figure out what is available to them. They need to settle the estate. So this process, the house, I'm not sure what they want to do with the house. We haven't even talked about it, but I did ask the Board of Health about doing other test pits, and he said maybe do one in the back of the house and maybe one in the front of the house. So we would 100% try to get a new septic system as far from the brook as possible. That's just common sense. But there's no plans for that house right now. It's been sitting there, I think, for 7 years, 5 or 6, 5 years, 6 years. I don't know.
Yeah, it's sorry, didn't mean to.
What's in front of us now is, as somebody had said, is a stormwater management land disturbance permit for 3 lots that we've been talking about. The 4th lot with the 363 Crawford, I guess, that is totally out of scope. If at some point in time that becomes in scope, then we'd be involved in that one.
Yeah, go on.
So this is Alex Goldman here at Commission.2024.12.09. I wanted to know what the plan is for after this common driveway is built. If the homes aren't built and inhabited for a period of time, who's responsible for managing that storm basin, and how is that going to work?
The storm basins will be maintained by the builder, let's say, until the homeowners, I don't know if it's just the homeowner in law. One, I'd have to read the homeowners association paperwork, which we don't have yet. We're going to submit that to the planning board. So the owner of the property would be responsible for the maintenance of the detention ponds, and
the current owner.
The what?
The
current owner?
Is that correct?
Yeah, if the ponds were built right now, yeah, they're not built yet.
Okay.
I don't think the current owner has the ability to build this.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Anything else, sir?
Yeah, I'm also wondering, so I'm taking a look, if you could scroll down to the land disturbance. I think
the other plan bit? The other plan, you mean?
Yeah, there's like a couple pages down where that one. That's like significant land disturbance. I think you said like close to 5 acres.
That is 4.5 acres, I believe.
4.5 acres. And how many large diameter trees are we talking about here?
There's going to be quite a few trees. I think I counted 60 just for the common driveway itself.
So what effect does that have on erosion, on water quality, on the noise pollution from the highway? I mean, these are a lot of concerns I think this neighborhood has and would have.
Well, that's basically why we're in front of the Conservation Commission. To review the process and how this will be constructed.
Right. So I guess to answer that, to jump in, the idea of them constructing this common driveway with all this area being with no trees left, basically, when they come out, they may be able to save a couple in there, but generally that area within this outline is the area of alteration. Part of the bylaw that's in place in the town is to prevent any erosion during construction, to get into the wetland resources here, and also to address any post-construction stormwater quality. So the water will go into these basins that will be built to treat and infiltrate the water, just as if it was a wooded site. You get the same amount of infiltration into this basin if it's designed and built correctly, as was the prior case, so that the water quality is 80% of the existing water quality. It meets the standard that you're treating 80% of the total suspended solids of the runoff coming off that property. And that's the state and local requirement.
So that would be a 20% reduction in water quality compared to now?
Yep.
And you're asking the residents to accept that reduction in quality?
Well,
I think we're over that. I think 80 is 80 the minimum by the because I think we're up at, I think LBAG's report is up in the 90s.
Does it go into
I'd have
90?
to look at it
Okay.
again. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, because
So-
that stormwater, that treatment unit does a tremendous job with the low flows.
Yep.
And I'm also curious, because you were talking about the runoff, like if in the event of a storm, snow, that runoff, those calculations, did they account for the land not having the current trees in place? Or does that not factor in?
Yeah, that's how they calculate things. They look at what exists now, establish a number, and then they look at what is going to be proposed in the end and have the final number. But what our bylaw also requires that if they have an area that's denuded or no vegetation on it, there's also a number that they need to address and store the volume of sediment that would run off a bare soil area. So they have to have all three of those things addressed.
Okay, thank you. And I guess would there be any condition to replace a lot of that vegetation with native vegetation, for example?
Yes, yep. Part of our charge is that after construction is done, everything has to be stabilized with vegetation, or what's not pavement or house roof. There's got to be vegetation. Whether it's lawn or something else, it's kind of up to them, but also native vegetation is required in the basins and in the detention area.
Okay. I think that is all of my questions for now. Thank you very much.
Okay, certainly. And as we're going to find out, this will be continued again. So next month we'll be back here again. So anything that comes up, you're welcome to certainly join that meeting too. Okay, I don't see any more hands up. So Vinny, it sounds like we're going to continue this to January. Does that work for you, Bob?
Yes, I'll come in and
January 13th.
walk through the plans of it if I can, and I'm thinking Josh might have already reviewed some of the information, so at DPW, but I tried to address all of Vin's comments, so I'm sure that he still has questions.
Okay. Well, Bob, you also might want to take into account some of the comments around snow storage and so forth there too. So.
Yep. No, I think that would comment. Nope, I don't disagree.
Okay. All right, then we need a motion to continue the hearing for 3711 Reservoir Street for stormwater management and land disturbance
To January 13th.
to January 13th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kelly. Roll call. Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay.
All right. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you, Bob. See you next month.
Vin, I'll give you a call tomorrow, and we'll try to get through those
Yes.
comments.
Yep, that sounds
Thank you
good.
very much. Okay. Thanks.
Good night.
Yep.
Okay, moving forward. 305 Crawford Street, continuation, another stormwater management and land disturbance permit. This is probably Vito. There he is, hanging out. Okay. Vinny, what's going on with this one?
I gave comments to Vito, he replied, and I got those, I think I got those Friday, maybe, Vito, I don't remember, but I haven't gone through and finalized things, but we wanted to get commission comments and any abutter comments on this tonight.
Okay.
Okay. Want me to start?
Go ahead, Vito, you're on.
Okay, so Vito Colonna, Cornerstone Engineering. So this is 305 Crawford Street, part of that 4-lot A&R. I'll share my screen. Those 4-lot A&Rs that this is the last one of the bunch, have the application submitted. So this is along with 311, 317, and 329 that was on earlier today.
So if we're going down Crawford Street, Vito, from Northborough down toward 290, this is the first lot on the left.
This is the first one. So this has the existing driveway on it.
Okay.
I'll zoom in. So that existing house that was torn down, that's right there. And then the driveway actually comes in off of this lot. So it comes up, right now it kind of comes up and then hooks over into this other lot, the one where they took the house down on 311. So this is that first one that you see. I think right now the sign is right out in front of this one. It's actually for that lot, but there's a sign out in front.
Okay.
So Vinny, I actually didn't get the full plans back yet, so I was waiting until after this meeting. So I'll get those after the meeting. So this one is 5.9 acres. And we have a disturbance area of about 95,000 square feet, so a little over 2 acres. And that in combination with the 4 lots triggered the application filing. So right now it's essentially undisturbed in the upper portions of the lot. And like I said, down at the front, it contains the existing driveway, and just some minor development down there, just a little bit of clearing. And then the house itself is off-site on the other abutting lot. As far as stormwater goes right now, everything essentially drains down to Crawford Street. We do have some intermediate analysis points. We have this property line here. Sort of some of this flows down across this abutting property and then ultimately onto Crawford. And then also on this sideline, it flows off-site onto number 311 and then ultimately to Crawford. So in our analysis, we looked at this property line, and then the ultimate downstream point of Crawford Street. We do have some wetlands just on and off-site. It's right here. There's an intermittent stream that runs across, kind of cuts across the very corner of the lot, but it's essentially running along that side property line. The 100-foot buffer doesn't impact into the project site, but it is up there, and we did stay out of the 100-foot buffer, preserve that in the natural wooded state. So the proposal itself is, again, a single-family house up here in the upper portions of the site. We have I'll zoom in. We have a 4-bedroom home, detached garage, septic system out in front. That was originally approved by Board of Health. We just submitted the modifications just to show the updated house. And they connected the garage actually to the septic also. So we just need those modifications through Board of Health. But the location and the sizing and everything had already been previously approved through the board. So we have a fairly long driveway leading down, kind of all the way down to Crawford. Just like the other ones, it is fairly steep, but it is the kind of the access to get up into that site.
Vito, how long a driveway is it?
I don't have the number offhand, but I'm going to say it's approximately 500 feet in that range. But I don't actually see, because this is about 100 feet, that bar scale at the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It might be a little more, maybe 700 feet. So it's a long driveway getting up there. But that gets you up to the top, the buildable area up in that top area. As far as stormwater, we kind of separated it into 2 areas. The top being the main building pad. We did a stormwater basin out in the back. This just essentially gets all the yard areas, some of the rear roof, and a lot of upgrading areas. It's an infiltration basin. We put the bottom of basin 4 feet above seasonal high groundwater. And then we have a front basin, and this one catches the front yard, front roofs, and then this upper driveway area. And same thing on this, we've set the bottom up, I think it's 4 feet above groundwater, provides all the infiltration and provides the treatment of this upper area. And then when we go down to the bottom of the driveway, just scroll down there. We also have 2 basins down there. One right here collects this portion of driveway right in there, and then a second one to collect this portion of the driveway. And again, those infiltration basins, these ones were a little closer to groundwater, but still compliant. I think they were just over 2 feet of separation, and we did that just to save on some grading down in that area. And then the base of the driveway, right down in here from the bottom, the intent was just to use the existing driveway layout that's down there. So we left that in the existing condition. We just matched that in the proposed. And the intent was just to leave it basically as is. And then the central portion of the driveway, and this middle section, we were planning just to let that sheet flow off the edge of the driveway and filter through this natural woodland, rather than, we didn't need that for pre-post control of runoff. It would only be for the treatment purposes. So in our minds, it would be better to kind of preserve that natural woodland than just to cut it just to provide treatment of a residential driveway. We didn't, our control of our pre and post analysis wasn't required to have basins in that area. So let's see if there's anything else. So waivers, we did have the typical waiver of work within the groundwater table. And that's just because of the nature of the site. This one actually isn't as bad as, not as bad, but as severe as some of the other ones. We don't have as much cut up in the top. Once we get up there, we're pretty much on top of the hill, but we do have some cut in the backyard just to level that off, but it isn't severe. But we are closer than groundwater than the bylaw would allow. So we do ask for a waiver for that. And the second waiver was for the treatment of the driveway in that middle section. And then I guess actually also would have to be for that front portion, right as it gets down to the roadway. And then I guess Vinny did have that letter. We're working through that. We did go back and forth on a few items, but I do owe him the full set of plans now in a outline of each comment. There were only a couple comments that we were kind of going back and forth on. One, I noticed it down at the entrance. I don't know if I can zoom in on that any better. So this one, so down at the entrance, where it is an existing driveway, we actually didn't need a permit from DPW. So the only regulations were meeting your stormwater bylaw. And I know, Vinny, you were asking if we could potentially try to put maybe a trench drain or something across the driveway down in here and potentially put something smaller in here just to at least capture a little bit more of that. And we're going to look at that as part of this next revision. But originally the intent was just to let that kind of match the existing condition where we did have a reduction in the peak rate and flow. So
Yeah,
we're
when
gonna
I was talking,
Yep.
just to jump in before you go on to something else, talking with a DPW, the idea was just so we don't get icing and water coming down in the springtime, if we can just it doesn't have to be a lot of water, it's just that little bit that is always a pain. So if we had a little space to have a trench drain and put it into a low area off the northeast corner, it might help just enough. Because there is a problem there now.
Yeah, after I saw your email, we kind of looked at that. And it looks like we could fit something, maybe it wouldn't be right at the base, but at least up a little bit, maybe right around in here, and maybe put a underground dry well kind of in here. We did do a test bit there, and groundwater was about 48 inches down. So we do have some depth to work with. Not much, but some enough depth to get something in, and maybe at least take, that first inch or something like that, just to get that low flow in that icing condition.
Yep, great.
I think that was our only kind of question on the review that was gonna, that we had to kind of go back and forth. Other than that, I think I can work through all the items. All right.
Good.
All right, with that, I guess I'll hand it back.
Good, thanks, Vito. Any questions from the commission, comments, concerns? Okay. I don't see any.
I do like, Vito, I think, letting that driveway kind of flow into that natural buffer right there, I think will be pretty good for this one. Instead of just clear cutting all those trees and creating, that many pockets. The only thing I'd say, which actually looks pretty good on the other side of the driveway, just be careful not to create any type of pockets on that other side of the driveway that would trap water to kind of direct it, down that other edge where you could get a lot of erosion kind of on that other side. But it looks like most of it would be graded, so it would still kind of continue across the driveway for the most part. Maybe a little bit kind of up where that cursor is.
Right.
Up there might be your only little pocket, but for the most part, it looks like it'll kind of continue across the driveway.
Yeah, so we tried to make it so it was at a slight cut on that side, except for, like I say, right in that corner. But you shouldn't get too much runoff right in that spot anyway, since it's flowing kind of down and across.
You all set, Justin? You're good? Okay, nodding heads.
Yep.
All right, I don't see any hands up from attendees in the audience here. Okay, so Vinny, we're going to continue this. We need a motion to continue the stormwater management and land disturbance permit for 305 Crawford Street to the January 13th meeting.
So moved.
By Todd, is there a
Second.
second? Second by Kelly. Roll call. Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Don Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
All right. Well, thank you. I'll
I'll
see you in a
set
month.
Thank you. Okay.
Have a nice
you go.
Christmas.
You too. Now we'll see you in January.
Yep.
All right. Moving along here. We have an NOI, a new NOI for 27 Belmont Street. Now, Vinny, this one's already requested a continuation, correct?
Yes, this is for the motels, the old Motel 6 site.
Yes.
They came in because they're replacing their septic system,
Mhm.
and they found that they had to file under the notice of intent, weren't fully aware of the land disturbance permit application. So instead of trying to do two things, getting this one going and then doing the land disturbance, they're just holding this one until the next meeting. So we want to continue this without any testimony to
So will
January
they come in next
13th.
meeting with an NOI app and a land disturbance app?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we just want to vote this to continue the NOI for 27 Belmont Street to the January 13th meeting.
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kelly. Roll call. Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Don Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, continued. All right, an RDA for 9 and 13 Church Street. Let me see, who do we have for this one?
Brian Waterman is there.
Brian Waterman, okay.
He's already here.
Okay, Brian, bringing you in.
I think he's already here.
Is he?
I see him, but I don't know.
I don't see him.
Okay.
It's in process. He's in the etherware. He's coming through.
All right, I'll start with my screen sharing.
Brian, are you coming in? Vinny, I've got a hand up from an R. Berg.
Yes, yep, that's one of the applicants as well.
Okay. Okay, Brian's going to rejoin. And is Mr. Berg.
Yes.
Is Brian Waterman?
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Brian.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm trying to fix it.
And Mr. Berg.
Doesn't
Burger.
Miss Milton
Mr.
want to come in?
Berger. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Very good. I'm just reading off the line here. There.
No
okay.
problem.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. So, Vinny, why don't you set us up on this one, then we'll turn it over. How's that?
Well, actually, we've got a request for a determination for demolition work. I'll let Brian take the lead. I'll try to point to the right things as he's talking.
Yeah, thanks, Vincent. We're here on behalf of, excuse me, LIK Northborough Realty. Vincent, do you have the little aerial exhibit that we could
I
throw up?
think that's up on the screen. Do you not see it?
Yeah,
Yes, I can see it right now. It's an aerial.
there we go. I don't know why I'm showing up as giant on this thing. There we go. So the project is located at 9 and 13 Church Street and also 40 West Main Street. Just to orient people, the intersection here, Route 20 and Church Street, the building right here on the very corner, that's the mobile gas station. The building to the north is number 9. That's the historic old fire station.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a old single family home at 13. And
It's the
number
other way
40
around.
I mean, yes, 9 is the house and 13 is the fire station, sorry.
Correct.
And then number 40 West Main is a vacant lot. It has a gravel parking area and a old foundation on it, and it's, you know, covered in overgrowth right now. So that is the general location plan. If we can go to the proposed site plan. So the owner and applicant has a land development agreement with the town that was issued by the select board on August 16th of this year. And under that land development agreement is the demolition of the two buildings, the home at number 9 and the fire station number 13. And that work under the land development agreement has to be completed within 6 months of the issue of the permit on August 16th. Excuse me. So the idea is for the Capital Environmental is doing the environmental cleanup and demolition, would generally access the site at that construction entrance you see just to the south of number 9 and access the rear of the fire station building. Yep, where Vinny's hand is. And then demolition the building into itself, away from the brook, so everything will be collapsed into the building. And then I know there's a question about stockpiling, but the idea is the material as it's brought down would be loaded into trucks and taken off site to a disposal facility. Robert could expand on it further, but I believe there is some asbestos contained within the building. So that will be, you know, removed and disposed of under state regulations.
Exactly. The house, number 9, has very little asbestos containing material, but the bathroom has some joint compound that's positive. In the basement, of course, has the old furnace and some piping that will all be abated well before any permit is obtained from the building department to take that building down. The old fire station, or what now, since we voted on a new one, I'm calling the old fire station.
Okay.
So that has some asbestos in the area of the downstairs bathroom, which will be removed, as we called, in a conventional manner because it's accessible and we can get at it. However, the 2-story section has asbestos in wallboard and joint compound, but the roof is collapsed. The water damage has damaged the second floor flooring. Therefore, it's not safe for us to even enter that section to do abatement. So the 2-story section is going to be knocked down into itself, and all the material is going to be transported off-site as asbestos waste. The end that's a single story will be abated and just hauled off as routine demolition debris.
Bob, what about when you say it goes into implodes into itself?
Correct.
That implies to me some sort of potentially asbestos dust being released.
When we do the 2-story section, we wet it down. See, what happens is under Mass DEP and Massachusetts Department of Labor, what we do is on that end of the building, we file what's called a non-traditional work plan. So when that goes into Mass DEP, they review it and approve it. And they also have the ability, if they want, during any asbestos abatement, to come visit.
Okay.
So the 3 or 4 bay side, single story, it's conventional. It's labor goes in and removes it, builds a containment, takes it out. The other side will be the 2-story, will be brought down into itself and trucked away as all the material being asbestos, even though it's just wallboard. It's not the brick, it's not the block, it's not the roof. It's just the wallboard that tested positive, but there's just no way to put labor on that second floor to do it. safely, because
Yeah.
it
Yep.
I don't know if anybody's been by there. If when we went up to sample the roof, you can look right into the building from the roof.
We've been by there a couple of times doing site inspections and so forth, but we can't see up that high up. It looks fine from the ground.
Yes. The good
Okay.
news is the roof tested negative.
That's good news. The less
Yeah.
is positive, that is good news.
Yes.
Okay, and Brian, this is an RDA just for the demolition. That is it. There's nothing
Correct,
beyond
yes.
that. Okay.
Nothing beyond
No, they're part of the land development agreement is they do the demolition and leave it as a pad site. And then within 18 months of that permit, they have to, they can apply for a multi-use. And that has to be fully permitted within 18 months from the date of
Yeah.
that agreement. So there's going to be no fill. They're going to be, demoing the buildings and just returning that to grade. As you've seen, this is a flat site across it. It varies in elevation of only 2 feet. So it'll be left as a pad site. All that material will be removed off site, and then that'll be graded to existing grade. Vincent had asked if we could show a couple of temporary settling basins if they're required. We don't think with the way this site is going to be handled and the grades that are going to remain and the stabilized area that we'll probably need them, but we are showing some areas there. And then we added another gravel access area that Vincent has there, a tracking area, as there will be some vehicle access likely through that section as well. There are 2 catch basins
That's
near
the old RT furniture.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay. There are 2 catch basins near that entrance. So we've shown inlet sediment control devices in both of those off that's a 50-foot long track pad. So, and then we've added silt fence around the perimeter there. And then to the north, that's the existing driveway that goes to the town sewer pump station right there.
Yes.
So right off the edge of the pavement, we've shown a combo straw wattle with silt fence, or Vincent had asked for another log along the edge of where there's an existing riprap bank there along off the edge of the pavement. But again, it's so flat, but we have that, and there's a fence just to the south of Vinnie's hand there that's defining a limit of work. But if anything were to flow towards the north, it'd be a difficult process, but we do have that contained with the erosion control barrier. So
good.
And then so the understanding with through the LDA with the town and under this permitting is that after the pad site is done, any future work, they have to file a new notice of intent.
Right.
And again, they need all that permitting. That has to be done within 18 months.
18 months from August 16th?
Correct.
Okay. Good update. Vinny, you want to add anything?
Nope. Nope, it's pretty clear. They've got the river in the back, or the brook in the back, and the bank. And we haven't decided whether there are wetlands there or not, because there were no plants growing. So we're going to wait for the notice of intent to determine the actual delineations of the resource area. But there's the floodplain, top of bank that's known, and they're keeping all their work way over here, which is beyond either of them. So it's not a problem, and they've got the barrier in place. So I think this should work out well.
And it is very flat, as people have said. So
it's nice. Yes.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns from the commission? Yeah, we're talking RDA here.
Yeah, why? So the 100-foot line goes through the building, right?
Yes.
The 100-foot RFA? Yes.
Well, isn't that so I guess the question is, I don't care all that much, but if you were to build this building, you would need an order of conditions. So why do you not need an order of conditions to bring it down when most of it is located in the buffer zone?
It's under the Riverfront Protection Act. It's a grandfathered clause. If you're not filling or dredging or, altering that. That's why this would be filed as an RDA under that exemption, but any future work, they're gonna have to file a notice of intent, address stormwater and everything else that goes along with it. So this RDA is filed under that exemption just for the demolition work. Any future work, you're right, it's gonna require a full notice of intent.
Yeah,
Okay.
and actually,
Go ahead,
I'm
Vinny.
not so sure that the exemption fully applies because there are a couple of caveats in it, but generally what I look at is that they've got their limit of work is at a point here where it's probably 40 feet away from the stream bank in any real resource areas. So
Right.
you've got 60 feet into the buffer zone, and this is all going to remain being paved. There's going to be no alteration there. They're not accessing on this end. Everything's going to be going from this point back to the south and out the other way.
Correct,
So it's not
correct.
coming close.
Yep.
And that's why it would be
And-
an RDA is all. That's my
Yeah, I just, again, I'm going to be fine with it ultimately because the protections we're doing are the same as we would have been doing if they did it under an order of conditions, right? But I just don't get why we're doing it this way. But it's fine. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Anybody else? Any more questions, comments from the commission? Concerns?
I see the fence up. Is that going to stay up then for the next, call it 18 months or so until something's permitted here?
No, it would stay up until we get the building down and bring it back up to grade.
So I guess for 18 months, like just the site's going to be left with a little bit of pavement on it, and then just kind of whatever growth, I guess, kind of grows out here. Like, will it be maintained and stuff over these 18 months?
I'm sure if the commission wants the landowner to keep any overgrowth that may grow in the backfill down, that would not be an issue.
Yeah. Justin, there's quite a bit of shrub and weeds and stuff on the back. What's not paved is generally gravel right now,
Yeah.
hard packed gravel. But there are, weeds and shrubs and stuff growing out of it. So
No, there's not. Yeah, I guess there's not much. And that R&T furniture site's, it's been overgrown for years since it
It
burned
Yeah.
down. There's not a whole lot. to
It's
do
not
there.
real
I guess
scenic.
the only thing I'd caution on that site is just that access. I don't remember. Did they ever have parking out? They had a little bit of parking maybe out in front of there, right? So I just
There's a
don't
gravel
know.
pad. If Vinny, can you go down to 40 West Main? Yeah, there's a gravel pad. You can kind of see it under our track pad. Yeah, right there. That's all
Yeah.
gravel pad
Okay.
that remains.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. I'm old enough. I actually bought furniture there, and there was parking where your hand is, and then a very tiny strip to the right is paved.
Yeah. No, I remember like a few parking spaces out in
Yes,
front of it.
correct, correct.
Yeah.
You went nose in, didn't you?
Yes, nose in.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
I
Correct.
bought furniture there too. Got a lamp.
I probably bumped into you.
The point that Justin brought up is good because one of the questions I had was once you have this flat piece of land, the buildings are gone, there's going to be a chance that you're going to have Dunkin' Donuts cups, any sort of refuse or trash blowing into the river. But if we leave up the erosion control device for a while, that may capture that.
Sure.
Yeah, the erosion controls are going to stay.
Good.
It's the chain link fence that surrounds it would be
Yep.
gone for a little bit.
The former RT furniture site currently has fencing, and that will stay.
All right. Any more comments from the commission? Questions, concerns? Take a look if we have anybody from the attendees. I don't see any hands up. Going once, twice, three times. Okay. So we're going to close the hearing, and we're going to, Vinny, it sounds like we're going to vote on a negative determination with any special conditions.
Just to have the sediment controls inspected prior to beginning work.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as those are installed, we'll give you a call, Vincent.
Yep.
All right. We need a motion to close the hearing on 913 Church Street.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Kelly, you're 100% tonight. Roll call vote. Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
I vote yes. Hearing is closed. We needed a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability for 913 Church Street with any special conditions as noted by Vinnie. I think we're
So
minimal.
moved.
Is there a second? Second. Roll call vote. Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay.
So thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
When will you start work?
We will start the interior non-traditional once we have the demo permit, but the house will likely have the interior asbestos work done in December, middle of December, and the traditional bathroom in the firehouse will be done in December. And then we got to wait for the demo permit.
And Vinnie, you'll be contacted on the control devices being established, right?
Yes, yes.
Correct.
I'm sure you already know this, but there's probably not a more visible location in town.
Yeah, correct.
No, not much.
So,
Yeah.
good luck.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
all.
Have a good holiday. Thank you.
Good night.
You too.
Have a
Good
good
night.
holiday, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, that covers the agenda for the meeting. Got a couple of items here. Vinnie, adaptive bicycle trail, nothing to say on that one?
I have not heard from Brian on that.
Okay. We have the correspondence issue, the clerk to replace Diane Goulden's resignation. Justin does a terrific job reading the notices, but he is the vice chair, so it's really, we need a third party. Any volunteers, any interest before we go forward? I know Dan was talking about it too, but we can wait till Dan comes back too if you want. But
I'll volunteer if it gets me out of ever making a motion.
Oh,
I'm sorry, that I don't think that's a good deal for us, Kelly.
I will second my heart out.
you were on point tonight with the seconds.
You were. Oh, my God, that's
Yeah.
right. Right. Never a dull moment. Should we just hold off till Dan comes back and then see where we go, or
Well, I heard
I
we got
think-
volunteers.
Kelly's in.
does Kelly want to do it?
All
I
in
mean, I
favor?
want to give the man a fighting chance. I'll definitely volunteer. I don't mind reading it.
Kelly, how about this? How about if we make a deal that we would exempt from any significantly complex motions?
Okay. All right. We'll do that. If I
Yeah.
can say so
You save those
moved.
for the attorney.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I think
All right.
I attempted one and it wasn't a so moved version, and I was lambasted.
There you go. Okay, super. That's great. Super. Thank you. And you know how to do it and so forth, and we'll go from
Yes.
there. So, all right.
Who motioned? We got to
Sorry?
vote? You have to vote for
Vote?
that.
Oh,
Yeah. I propose to, all right, nominate Kelly to be clerk.
I second it.
There we go. All in favor, raise your hand.
Oh, geez.
Raise your hand.
There's 4 hands up. I count.
Can I
Okay.
virtually do
Oh.
that?
Stadia has a virtual hand up too.
Virtual hand up.
That's right.
Your virtual hands up on the panelist side. Okay, good. January 13th. Any known conflicts?
No.
No?
No.
We have a lot of continuations. We have a lot of stormwater management, land disturbance permits. Vinnie, anything coming in you know of on the January agenda outside of the continuations?
No, we have a COC, continuation certificate of compliance on one that I hope, just a single family house from 30 years ago. So it shouldn't be too
Oh.
bad.
I know which one that, 260 Whitney.
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, good, good.
Yeah.
Sadie and John, after going through your first meeting, you still gonna come back next month?
I'll be here.
Okay.
Yes, for sure.
Okay,
I'm getting
good.
sworn in on Wednesday. I tried to today, but I just missed the person that was there to do it. So
Okay, no worries, no worries. Good, good stuff. All right, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There you
Second.
go. Second.
Roll call, Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Don Johnson,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Happy holidays to all. If you're traveling, safe travels. If you see anything strange around town, you know who to call. It's Vinny
Yeah, thank you.
Vignali.
That's it.
And we will see you all in January.
Yes, you will.
Bye.
All right. Take
Great.
care,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye, everyone.